Hello and welcome to EvilGinger Miniatures, where I'll be talking about various things modelling and wargaming related and EvilGinger Miniatures related. The big news, but I won't go into it too much detail, is the fact that I've got the PC upgrade done. The reason I'm not going into detail about it is there is a little video about that exactly that I recorded as a test video just after I'd done it. And is one of the reasons that it was the Tuesday episode is going up a day late again. I will hopefully not have to do that in the future, because I will be able to record them on Sunday or Monday and then get on with them. Now, the subject of today's video is Outremer. It's one of the little Osprey blue books you can probably see, and it's like a lot of the blue books, a little bit short and I think needing a little bit of polish, but I like the general idea because it's a game with character progression for all of the people involved. Now, the game, as written, limits this to 12 people, but I'm fairly sure with a couple of tweaks and a change in the activation system, which is the main limiter, I can get this to run with a warbands in the low 20s, which is more my favourite sort of game. It's obviously set during the Crusades and the period of the Crusader kingdoms and Crusader states in the Near East. Looks like it has potential to be used elsewhere, with a few adaptations. European Knights versus European Knights, Mild border examples. Same sort of thing as the Baron's War set, which I'm also getting the Outremer set for because it's a period I'm reasonably interested in, and I like the styles of armour and the clash of barbarians and civilized people. Leave you to work out who the barbarians were, but they might have sacked their chief ally's capital at one point later on after this period. But so I'm going to be doing that, and I'm going to be modifying the rules a little bit. The problem with the activation system is it uses a card draw activation system, and there's nothing fundamentally wrong with that, but it uses a standard deck of cards. So each side in the game has a suit. So you're limited to 10 King, Queen, Jack. You're limited to 13 people a side, and that's a bit short for me. So what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to use a token draw activation, and the tokens will be little poker chips, cheap poker chips, and basically you activate the figure when his chip comes out, and I can probably get it to work with 20 odd figures, because most of these rule sets, say Frostgrave, which I'm very practiced with, will actually work with a lot more figures than they're designed for. I mean, first time I played Silver Bayonet as a test game, don't have Silver Bayonet at the moment. I'd like to do Silver Bayonet in, say, 40mm or something like that. But I discovered that by accident it ran perfectly well with 8 or 10 figures, about 10 figures rather than the 8 it's written for. But the thing I like about Outremer is the fact it's got character progression, and I'll get some glasses on. This, by the way, is one of the little dramas around here. This is the last proper unbroken pair of glasses I have, and these are my painting glasses, which have an issue. That is glued, and I've had to re-glue it several times. And every time it breaks off, more and more of the hinge area disintegrates. So it's just basically held together by super glue. But that's that. Outremer, and I will switch to the other camera if you could see it a bit better. I will open it up. It has got lots and lots of equipment tables. possibly do with the PDF of this too as well. And it's got character development, some interesting little scenarios which will be easy to add more onto, various NPCs, side things that soldiers can do, battles and campaigns, and various starters. And you basically generate your character. And there are basically Saracens, and there are military orders, and then there are the Crusaders, which will also include people like the Armenians and that sort of thing, who were Christians and in that area anyway. Because remember, at that time, Armenia included quite a large chunk of Turkey. So basically, I'm going to change the activation system to a token activation system and probably give some features of command to the leader figures so they can actually give commands. And we'll go back to scene 1 so you can see, and I'll sort the figures out. Now this is the warband so far. It's had a bit of a disintegration issue. Where on earth is the... Right. Okay, so I thought I'd put the bits on there, but they've obviously fallen off. Right. Okay. This is, going back to scene 2, the warband so far. Now this guy is meant to be the priest. Now I had him with a very nice helmet with a cross in the face, but it turned out to be a dry joint, and it came away when I was putting sand on his base. And there's another guy here. Oh, he's got his spear. Right, he's got his spear. So it's only the helmet I'm probably going to find. Basically, another dry joint issue. So I'm going to have to scrape that and re-glue it. But this guy, because he's got the helmet that I chose is going to be one of the full face ones, and they're meant to go on heads like this one. Sorry, get the focus right. Like this one, where they're the front, I'm probably going to green stuff a hood on. But this is a Baron's War, which is a sort of warband. You've got a command group. You've got a command group for knights. A priest, obviously, I need to fix that, which I don't need to have him off there. A couple of billmen. A couple of billmen with mail and padded armour there. One of the Armenian or Turkopol crossbowmen. Another musician for the command group. A musician for the knightly command group. And a group of spearmen, mostly in padded armour, but some in padded armour and mail, and some in just mail. But basically, I'm going to be working on those, and you'll see them on the Facebook page. Now, I'm going to leave the priest fixing because I've got to go and dig through sprues to find another head of the sort I want. So I'm going to do this guy and I'm going to carry on painting in a minute. And I might add that to get it to glue, you just need to scratch the paint off. And then you need to get the glue find it. It's a good thing to join these at the wrist. Now where do I put that spear? To make sure it's all clear on this end, because sometimes dry joints you just get a little bit of paint seeps into one. Just get this lined up and hold it till it goes off. So I knocked this off just by reaching it, and because I don't judge distance any too well, I instead of put my hand past the spear, I hit the spear with my hand, so I ended up punching it, which didn't do it any good. So there he is, back on and in the right position. So that guy will have to go off a bit before I do any painting on him. Now, earlier I put some sand on these, which means I need to repaint the bases. And I'm painting them desert yellow. Desert yellow is off here somewhere. I shall go and stick my head in. Dig round in the, and it's the army painter. That's not it. That's the lighter colour. And so it would help in here if it was a bit brighter, but if it's any brighter I can't see. You just get. What did I do with the paint when I was tidying up? Again, I need to organise this a lot. So forgive me scrabbling around. Where is this desert yellow? Need to put the desert yellow. Cannot see anything. Where are they all gone? Also doesn't help that Army Painter and Reaper use white bottle tops for most of the things. So it's very hard. There we are, desert yellow. Because the difference is the shape of the top of the bottle rather than the dropper cap. And a tad annoying. So basically I'm going to do that. Is that dried out there? Little egg cup. Usually means there's a mixing bowl stuck in the top there. Yep. And then I'm going to put the other recording thing on, which is the is that woken up? Has it woken up? No. I'll set that. Oh, for crying out loud. Alright. That might start recording in a minute. It might wake up in a minute. I don't know why it isn't. But basically I'm going to be doing a little bit of painting This is the Army Painter Speed Paint Medium, which I happen to like for doing this with. Just dilute it down. Waterworks as well. So does my usual A20 Spirit, the Tamiya thinners, and I'm just going to get a brush out, and I'm just going to be putting a thin wash of Desert Yellow into the bases. This will darken down quite a lot when I've not looked quite so aggressively mustard. Do this with a brush you're not very fond of, or in my case any brush you can lay your hand on, because this is one of the reasons I destroy brushes. This is due to mechanical wear. I'm just going to be doing these, and I'll carry on with them when they're completely dry. Shedding bits of beard. Pleasure of batch painting. I don't know what's up with this stupid thing. Unless the battery's flat, I don't know. But I can't investigate that without actually getting up and faffing around with it, so I will do that afterwards. Because if the battery's flat, I will need to plug it into the computer, into a USB, and just have it charge. But I thought it was on 3 bars when I looked earlier. But carrying on just doing this. It's very relaxing, this bit. It's just you've got to make sure you don't get it too close to the shoes. And then you've got to be patient, because it will then take several hours to dry. Even with acrylic paint, it's that watery that it's not at all a speedy process. And I do it this way because it gives you a bit more control over what you're doing. You can also look over the base and get rid of bits and pieces and bits of grit that are in the wrong place. Grit, by the way, is anything that's bigger than I think 3mm. And this is building sand. Sorry, this is builder's sharp sand. Building sand doesn't have so much grit in it because it's sieved out. And this is lightly sieved to remove the really coarse stuff, which I use as rocks. And I'll be using a few of those for the on the buildings for this. I had backed a Kickstarter for some 3D printed buildings. But unfortunately, when that came to delivery, I downloaded the file and I got all sorts of "this might have malware" warnings. And when I queried it with the producer, he basically replied, "Trust me, bro, but I'm not about to download something that might have unknown malware on it onto the works computer." So basically, I got a refund after I politely told Kickstarter that they really ought to watch, that this guy was either a bit of a twit or something worse, which we won't go into. As it was, I'm not going to criticise him too much because he did actually refund. However, it does mean I'm short of the buildings I was going to use for the Outremer. So I've been prowling around websites. That was the noise of paint things shifting. I need a hostess trolley or something to put the paint on, and I also need to get the shredder, which is sitting over here, somewhere else, because it's taking up space in a place where space is very definitely a premium. And I need to get some more normal crossbowmen for this guy, because he needs some maintenance. He's going to be mounted crossbowman, so we'll be using mounted Normans with bits and pieces from the Victrix medieval foot sergeant, the mounted sergeants when they come out, because I believe you can make those up as mounted crossbowmen. But I only want sort of about 3 or 4 of them, so, and I'll do up a horse holder, because you really do need a horse holder for this sort of thing. So he's the only light troop I've got there. The rest of them are infantry. Again, the dismounted knights and the dismounted priest will get mounted versions with the same heads, I hope. So you can tell you know who they are. And I should be taking some pictures of these. So there. This is the thing I can never find anything in space. Take some pictures of these because keep the Facebook people happy as well. Standard bearer for the foot sergeant commander, wearing, well, Lord's livery, which is going to be blue and red, and because they're French, it's going to have the St. Denis cross on it. There's the foot sergeant commander, as he is so far. Might need to faff around with the focus on this and which camera records what, because this one isn't anywhere near as sharp as the other one. It's all part of a learning thing. Take around the rocks. Might change the colour of the rocks at some point, but those are just left primered at the minute. And I need to get some dead grass and get off there. Whatever that was, I think it was a little piece of stuff that might have come off the paintbrush, but this might be expensive, but you need very little of it. And it works somewhat better than and you're not supposed to do the stirring with a brush because it's meant to cause all sorts of problems with the brush. But I find that whatever I do with them, they knacker at the same sort of rate, so I should have put a little bit of spirit in this because it's getting problems with it flowing. Just do him because I can fix that later. I'm going to sculpt a hood on him. Now, I have tried to sculpt male at this scale, and I'm really not up to it, but I can do cloth to some extent, and I can do fur really well. So I'm basically going to put a hood on this gentleman, and have it sort of over his shoulders and back. I might use one of the hoods that are spare from other Victrix sets as a guide, do a bit of carving to get it to fit. So, or I might just green stuff all of it. I haven't decided yet. Obviously, green stuff is more flexible, as you can actually make it exactly the right shape without having to faff around with knives. But you also have to put up with my green stuff sculpting skills, which are probably in need of some improvement, because it's not a thing I do a great deal of. And there we are, another one. As I say, I'm not entirely sure where Bill's got used out in Outremer, especially not by the French, but I do want some as an option. I'll have some heavy armoured crossbowmen with this group, and I'll obviously have the mounted crossbowmen, and I might have some Turkobol light cavalry, and of course a few knights. Probably just the command group, to be frank. There's a lot more to do on these, but I'm beginning to run out of brushes, which is a bit of a thing. And war bases, where I get them from, we're out of stock of most of the sizes that I want. And as always happens when I need a restock, because I recommend them to everybody, and I suppose it's probably me and I can only blame myself for that. But they are very nice brushes, and they are really, really tough, and they survive contact with me, and the sort of level of abuse that this one's getting here. I mean, this one is getting a bit past it now, but it's had all sorts of stuff done to it, and it's starting to take mechanical wear damage, which is usually what kills them. Of course, it takes mechanical wear damage by painting things like sand and stuff like that. And the reason I use sable brushes for this sort of thing rather than synthetics is because if I treat synthetics like I'm treating these war bases ones, they're a one-use item. And bitter experience of trying to cut, they're not so cheap that you can afford to basically have them as one-use items. They're not the nylon brushes that you use for dusting, loose flock off things and that sort of thing, that are sort of £2 for 6 or £2 for 10. As usual, I've just about run out of things to paint. I've got one more to do, and I'm probably not enough paint to do the last one, so I'm going to have to put that little paint out. So, come on. Mix that up. I think I'm going to be doing the stones on here a different colour at some point. But I've only got stones on leaders, so I know who they are. Put that out the way. Just saying, I would like to have bonus contact and be painting this on from the other camera, but it's not behaving itself, and I will have to sort that. And I should do that immediately after I finish this recording. So there we are. That's those. Need to be careful with that one. Put him over there. Put that out of the way. And switch back to scene 1. And I think you've had basically half an hour of me faffing around and talking and showing you things. I'll do some more work on the Outremer group when that's dry, and I will also be doing work on the fantasy versions and the and just as off camera, I'm going to be trying the shields, which are now shiny. If they are, I'll fix the ones that got bubbles under the transfers, and expect pictures of those on the EvilGinger Facebook group in due course. Actually, that reminds me, having done that, I really should photograph it, because again, content should be provided on as many media as possible. Just post and sort. As I say, I'll be pressing on with those. I'll be pressing on with those and finishing them, and you'll hear all about these in another episode of another series. Anyway, that's enough from me for now, I think. So take care, everybody, and goodbye.